So we'll do a series of Pilates at the wall. Amanda is leaning against the wall and feet will be away from the wall just enough that you can really get your back to the wall. So Amanda, you can come in a little bit closer. It's just going to be enough that you have room for your gluteal mass. So it'll be unique to each individual. But you do want to be able to feel the back of your pelvis, the back of your ribs against the wall. Whether or not your head touches really depends on the individual. For Amanda, she's got the cervical mobility, the upper thoracic mobility to let the base of her skull or occiput kind of come back. But if that feels like straining for anyone, then just come back as close as you can without straining. So we're looking for the wall here to be just a vertical reference point. Feel that upright alignment. Feel your ribs over your pelvis. Put a little micro bend in your knees so that you're not locking your knees. And then check in with your pelvis. Is it lined up so that your ASIS bones are right over your pubic symphysis? And that gives us an estimate of a neutral pelvis, neutral lumbar spine. Nice. And then from there you can take one hand to your lower belly and we'll do a Pilates exhale. A little bit of force, pushing the air out to help draw the pelvic floor up and the abdominals in. Once we've established that drawing in of the deep core muscles, then go ahead and do your best to find that core connection and maintain that core connection. You'll continue breathing with a lateral costal breath so that the rib cage expands wider to allow the lungs to expand and open. Yeah. So this is a starting point, and I have a lot of clients who I have do this exercise multiple times a day for a while until they get used to this feeling of support through their core in an upright standing posture. When you're ready to add a little bit more, you can allow your arms to hang by your side and inhale. As you exhale, let your shoulder blades slide back a little closer to the wall so that you're working your scapular retractors, your mid-back muscles. Inhale, let the shoulder blades slide forward, and exhale, scapular retractors, pulling your shoulder blades back. You might notice that does actually move your arms back as well, just slightly, not so that they're flush against the wall, but maybe just resting beside you, beside your thighs, your hips, instead of hanging forward. So the trick here when we start adding things on in Pilates is always bringing our attention back to the core. Do we still have that strong foundation? Is the floor of the core still engaged, just enough to support this task? Is the TA still drawn in to support good posture in this exercise? And we've got a lot of support from the wall for this exercise, so that you don't feel a ton of core activity happening here, but it's a bit of effort if you're holding it for a while. So let's give Amanda a little bit of a break. Let the belly hang out a bit. And then when you're ready, go ahead and turn to the side. And you'll take your body up against the wall. Really what's important is that your foot gets up against the wall so that the wall side, in this case Amanda's right foot, is up against the baseboard. Now, if you happen to be really broad through your shoulders, you might want to be kind of a wider stance through your feet so that you've got some space for your shoulders, or if you're wider through your hips, you might want to be a little wider through your feet so you can accommodate your hips. And that way it can be just your foot pressing against the baseboard. And so what we'll do here is same Pilates posture, ribs over pelvis. You can imagine that the wall is back behind you and you're gonna keep your head, your ribs, your pelvis lined up over your ankles, engaging through your core, taking your breath wide into your ribs. You've got a little less support here from the wall. And what we'll add on is the bigger muscles of your lateral stabilizers in your hips. So I'm gonna ask Amanda to imagine, and she's taking her arms out of the way, which you're welcome to do. Just get them out of the way so you're not scrunching them up against the wall. I'll ask Amanda to also add a pushing, as if she's trying to push, that right foot or wall leg against the wall. And it's an isometric contraction, so it's not a contraction where you're moving a ton. You're just gonna engage your muscles and not really move anywhere because the wall is in your way. You're just pressing against the wall. You get to decide how much force. Don't push so hard that you actually knock yourself off balance, right? You're gonna just go ahead and engage as much as you feel is needed to engage the muscles around your pelvis, and then bring your attention, your awareness back to those deep internal core muscles. Are you still lifting your pelvic floor? Are you still drawing in? How is your alignment? Are you still breathing up into your ribs? Good. And then take a little rest break, and you can stay in the same position. If that was really challenging, then you'll stay there, right? If you wanted to increase the challenge, Amanda, you feel ready to increase the challenge? Mm-hmm. Great. She's gonna go ahead and lift her right foot just barely off the floor and press into the wall. So go ahead and try with the legs straight first, just to make sure that you're not really tipping at all. Yeah, the foot is, you might not even look like she's lifting her foot because it's just barely off the floor, and she's gonna press into the wall. Yep, and this way we're making sure that she's not really tipping her pelvis, right? She's maintaining that beautiful alignment. Deep core muscles hugging in, right? Pelvic floor still engaged, lifted. Yeah. Still breathing wide into the rib cage. Good. And this is an endurance hold. Whenever you're tired, you go ahead and take a rest break, take the foot down. People are often surprised to find that the standing leg is usually more fatigued, than the wall leg. Okay. So we'll go on to the bent leg version, right? Which you saw Amanda do, just pressing against the wall, but we're gonna add this ball that I'm holding, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and give that to you. You can put it against your outer knee, and try to, again, leave the pelvis level, neutral, belly drawn in, core engaged, pelvic floor lifted. And with all of this going on here, hugging in, supporting down below, the breath happens up above. Great. So we're gonna either just do this as an endurance hold. Okay, the ball does make it a little more unstable because it can roll any which way, and Amanda's doing the work of stabilizing. She told me earlier this is her favorite exercise, but it is really hard. So I'm gonna have you hold that pressure against the ball, pushing into the wall, add a little mini squat on your left leg. See if you can keep your pelvis level. Good, and then stretch that leg right back up. Very nice, keep breathing. Keep core engaged. Good, and then I'm gonna put my hands on your pelvis just so you can feel where your pelvis is in space. Try to bring your right hip a little bit more forward. There you go, good. And bending down with your breath. Oh, we got a little shake going on, very nice. We're working hard. One more, try to keep your left knee pointed straight ahead, keeping the alignment of the standing supporting leg, excellent. And then up to standing, good. Okay, woo! So we could go ahead and do that on the other side. I encourage you to do so. And you could just go ahead and replay the video back to do the other side. We're gonna leave Amanda lopsided for the moment. Thank you for joining us.